Hello everyone and welcome to Tuesday's edition. Everyone. Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Hello everyone. 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 Hello everyone and welcome to Tuesday's edition of the Chris Pritchard Cycling News Show. Who else felt flat yesterday? I mean, I'm sure the riders and the staff and the organisation needed a rest day, but we didn't. It's so frustrating on a rest day. But at least we get time to take a deep breath and get ready for this second week of the Tour de France. Thankfully, as of recording this, 0 positive COVID tests coming back from any of the teams, meaning all the teams are taken to the start line for stage 10 this morning, and we're going to bring you all the news on stage 10 later. First up, yesterday, did you see the tweet that Vincenzo Nibali put out with the advert for this year's Giro? Don't quite know how they managed to do that one, but amazing. Like, whoa. That's a bloody cool advert. Like, Vincenzo Nibali there looked way out of place compared to the rest of them on his brand new high-tech bike with his brand new high-tech kit. Cyclists just ain't cyclists anymore, are they? They're prima donnas. Did I just say that out loud? Now, if you want to check out the full version of that ad, link is down in the description to that tweet. Let me know in the comments below if you've seen this ad. What do you think? Like, especially that Pantani moment for me, that brought back so many memories of Pantani and me being a kid watching the race, and it was pretty nostalgic. Leave your comments down below and let me know what you thought to that ad. Next up, Tirreno Adriatico got underway yesterday with what has to be, well, last week we were saying one of the most monumental sprints of all time from Caleb Ewan at the Tour de France, but this sprint finish from Pascal Ackermann, unbelievable. Wait, before we go and check it out, make sure if you've not done already, go and subscribe to the channel. Had a massive influx of subscribers yesterday simply by asking people to subscribe at the start of the video. So if you've not done already and you want to be ahead of the curve when it comes to cycling news, hit that subscribe button. Thanks. Anyway, Pascal Ackermann sprint, right? Anyway, Pascal Ackermann sprint. You know what? I think we're going to have to go a little lantern rouge on this one, because this was something else. Hello everyone, welcome to Chris Pritchard Cycling News Show Race Analysis, Tirreno Adriatico, Stage 1. This was the break, 35 kilometres, they had 35 seconds. They ended up getting caught. It was always going to come down to a bunch sprint. You can see Peloton's working hard with De Koenig Quickstep. Bora Hansgrohe obviously had Ackermann going for the sprint. Sunweb were up there as well, working to make sure that this gap here was brought down, and this breakaway was caught. 20k to go, 11 seconds. They've got to catch him. Look at that straight road. No chance of them two staying away anymore. And there you go, boom, look at that, caught. Sunweb on the front there, driving it. Astana wanting to get involved, and Trek Segafredo. If you pause it here, you can see that EF Education are on the front, smashing it to pieces for their sprinter. Don't even know who their sprinter was, to be fair. I presume they were working for Clarkey, but I don't know. But 3 EF Education riders on the front. And you can see that there was some sort of crash. Oh, geez Louise, look at that. That was a big one, that. Eesh, bloody hell. Anyway, under the Flamme Rouge, Total Direct Energies, Adrien Petit, I think that is, off the front, not bad. What's he trying to do? Obviously, that crash, he thought that he was going to get away. But to be fair, there was no real lead-out trains here. It was literally every man for themselves. Petit's about to get caught. You've got Gaviria's teammate on the front, chasing him down, and in doing so, killing himself and making him basically redundant for any sort of a lead-out for Gaviria towards the end. Gaviria looks like he's in 5th wheel here. You've got a rider from FDJ behind him. You've got one of the Bora Hansgrohe's lead out guys there, just in front of Gaviria by the looks of it. And Ackermann is there. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16th, technically 17th with him there. 17th wheel, right? Mental. Gets blocked a tiny little bit there. Gets onto the wheel of the AG2R rider. Bit of bumping and boring going off at the back there. And at this point here, there he is there. This is, well, according to the race distance, 100 metres to go. But there's probably, I'd say 200 metres to go here, because Gaviria is just launching his sprint. So we're between 150 and 200 metres to go here. The Bora Hansgrohe rider just behind Gaviria is not Ackermann. But a perfect place for Ackermann to be there to win the stage. Clark has gone on the left of the road. Gaviria has gone on the right. So the FDJ rider here is Roman Siegel. Clarkie's over on the right hand side, if it is. And the Bora Hansgrohe rider in the middle is just sat up, and the guy to his right, that's Ackermann, right? Let's keep this rolling. So Ackermann just about starting his sprint there. Goes down the right side. The barriers come in there just to the right of Gaviria. You can see that the barrier just kicks in. So it's gone from this like flat barrier, and then at least a foot inwards is the new barrier coming up for 50 metres to go. Ackermann is still out of it as far as I'm concerned. He's in the saddle. He's in the saddle. Going round the outside, negotiating the gap the size of a mouse's ear. And Bosch wins the sprint. Don't get it. Don't know how he's managed it. Look. He's in the saddle, he's off balance, and he's trying to negotiate a tiny slither of a gap. And he takes the stage. That was some sprint. So let me pass this question off to you. Caleb Ewan's sprint.
Even more impressive in the overhead shot. Giacomo Nizzolo taking third. Ugo Hofstetter up there in fourth.
Or Pascal Ackermann's sprint.
But look at this coming from behind. Green helmet, black jersey. Doesn't look like there's a gap, but there certainly was for Pascal Ackermann, who pipped Gaviria on the line. One of the most exciting sprints you're likely to see, and that was a wonderful win.
Next up, and let's move our attention now to the Tour de France. Now, even though it was a rest day for the riders, it wasn't a rest day for the COVID testers at the Tour de France. They had to complete tests for all the riders, all the staff, all the organisation staff as well. And news is coming back just now that we had a few positive tests. So this is the official press release from the Tour de France Twitter, and it says, in accordance with the Tour de France health protocol developed in the framework of the UCI's rules for the return of the road cycling season in the context of the coronavirus pandemic, the entire race bubble was tested on the 7th and 8th of September, with all those with accreditations being tested within 5 days preceding the Grand Depart in Nice, and the race bubble once again being tested upon arriving on the Tour. This is the third testing campaign since the beginning of the Tour. A fourth test campaign is scheduled with the same conditions for the next rest day, in Isère, on the 14th of September. Its objective is to guarantee the health of the race for the riders and accredited personnel. A total of 841 tests were performed, and we can breathe a sigh of relief as no rider has tested positive for COVID-19 or is considered a contact case requiring quarantine. However, one staff member, each from Team Cofidis, AG2R Le Mondial, Ineos Grenadiers and Mitchelton Scott, have tested positive and left the race bubble. A technical service provider has also tested positive and has left the race. And that technical service provider is none other than the ASO's Christian Prudhomme. And as La Flamme Rouge 16 pointed out on Twitter, Prudhomme had the French president in his car just 2 days ago. Now, we're not too sure exactly what the roles were within the teams of these 4 staff members, but it makes you wonder, did the teams take out extra personnel to make sure that they were covered in all areas, or did they just take a couple of extra mechanics or a couple of extra carers or chefs or whatever it might be, just in case this actually happened. And then it makes you think, if these have tested positive on this test but not, they wouldn't have tested positive on the first test because they wouldn't have been allowed into the bubble. So they've contracted it during these past 7 days or 10 days now. And you can't help thinking that who have they been in contact with that are going to test positive on the next rest day? And it could be the next rest day that just explodes this tour. I mean, I so want this tour to be completed. I don't want it to be a half-assed tour that needs cancelling after half of the event and then the winner never really... Come on, if we're going to give it to Primož Roglič, he's got to complete all 21 stages. In fact, whoever wins it, it's not going to go down as an official result in my eyes and probably all the fans' eyes unless this goes the full 21 stages. But it really doesn't look good. And then you think back to what we talked about a few weeks ago in the fact that if there's 2 personnel within the same team testing positive for COVID, that team will be chucked out. I think they changed those rules slightly, made it a bit more lenient, but potentially you could have 2 more people testing positive next week. That equals 3 in a team. Surely you can't not throw them out. Because if 3 people have contracted it, and if we're lucky enough that none of them are riders, surely it's only a matter of time before one of the riders picks it up and then... I don't know. But as it stands, the main man behind the Tour de France, the face of the Tour de France, Christian Prudhomme, is no longer at the Tour de France. He's got all COVID and stuff. All right, let's get on with it. Stage 10. Now, when the riders looked at the road book this morning, especially the GC contenders, they must have seen this and gone, essentially, it's another rest day for us. It's pan flat, nice and easy, let a break go away early, get a big lead, and then the sprinters teams will just reel that back in. Everyone will sprint for victory, everyone goes home happy. But when you take a deeper look into this stage and you realise that potentially Crosswinds could play another major role in this stage, it made for a very, very nervous stage. On top of that, if you watch the commentary on ITV, David Miller and Ned Bolton mentioned on numerous occasions how much street furniture there was on this stage and how many times the riders were taking left-handers, right-handers, and how their trajectory was never really very linear. It was a very, very technical stage. And even Jonathan Vaughters this morning tweeted out about the potential dangers of this stage. He said, "Route for today's Tour de France 2020 is incredibly dangerous. I mean, it'd be fine if the peloton were 25 riders or if it were 1908 and the guys were all 20 minutes apart from each other, but it's not." And he wasn't far off wrong. The order of the day was crashes, 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 and more crashes. So there was a 2-man breakaway that went up the road relatively early, but that was brought back within the middle of the stage. Such was the nervousness of those GC riders wanting to make sure that they were at the front. And the power and the speed of that peloton just sucked those breakaway riders in. When they came to the intermediate sprint, it was actually Matteo Trentin that scored full points ahead of Peter Sagan, and Sam Bennett was in 3rd. And then there was a big race to around 20 kilometers to go when the road went left, potential crosswinds appeared again, and that meant everybody wanted to be at the front. And of course, eventually, the peloton started to split and echelons started to form. And this bridge here was the focal point of that potential split happening. Even though it happened slightly earlier, a lot of the group came back together, but it was at the top of this bridge here that potentially we could have seen another split in the peloton. Jumbo were driving it on the front, and thankfully for the GC contenders, it all stayed together. So once the riders had negotiated that bridge, it was essentially down to a sprint finish. Now, normally those GC teams, they'll ride up to 3 kilometers, get into that safe zone of that 3 kilometer, and then they'll just take it easy, and then they'll just hang around the back while the sprinters teams go to the front. But because the pace was so ferocious, because there was still so much nervousness within that peloton, the GC teams just carried on riding through. Eventually, Sunweb got to the front, and they had 7 riders, all in support of Case Ball. It looked like a Mark Cavendish train of old, but unfortunately, Case Ball was was nowhere to be seen. And coming into the final 200, 150 metres, it looked like it was going to be a carbon copy of stage 3 where Caleb Ewan took the win from behind. He was sat on Sam Bennett's wheel. It appeared that Sam Bennett had gone too hard, too early, because they were going straight into a headwind, but thankfully he was able to fend off Caleb Ewan and take his first ever Tour de France victory. Caleb Ewan just couldn't do enough to get over the line in first position, giving Sam Bennett the win. Peter Sagan, solid sprint from him in third place, but not enough to keep Sam Bennett from taking back that green jersey from Peter Sagan. And maybe, because DeConnick Quickstep don't have a GC contender in Alaphilippe anymore, they'll be putting all their eggs in that Sam Bennett basket to try and obtain that green jersey for the team and take it away from Peter Sagan. Could they do that? And if they do, what's Peter Sagan got to show for his Tour de France this year? Like I said a couple of days ago about this whole Sam Bennett, Peter Sagan potential race for that green jersey, a lot of people were saying that Peter Sagan would rather take the green jersey over a stage win, but my point of asking the question back in the day was giving him a stage win now with these fast sprinters would put him back at the top of the hierarchy of sprinters, whereas all he's doing really is being very, very consistent in those sprints. He's not doing anything outrageous and outlandish like Caleb Ewan, like Sam Bennett. He's just consistent. And that's great, I guess. When you go to the podium at the end of the 21 stages, you're winning a green jersey, you're getting the plaudits, but you're just getting the plaudits for being consistent, not for being an out-and-out points winner. Do you know what I mean? And you know what? I don't know if he deserves it. Like, the points jersey should always go to the fastest, the best sprinter, as opposed to the most consistent person. That's just my point of view. I don't know if you agree with me on that or not. In fact, let me pass that question off to you. Would you rather see Sam Bennett on the podium in Paris with that green jersey, or Peter Sagan? Someone who's clearly not flying, but very, very consistent, or this new up-and-coming, well, not relatively new to the Tour de France, this up-and-coming talent who is fighting for wins every single time, rather than just sitting back 4th, 5th wheel, not really being able to challenge for that win? Leave your comments down below. And that'll do for today. I think we've covered quite a lot today. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. Consider subscribing to the channel if you've not done already. I'd love to hit 30,000 subs within the next week or two. Hit that like button, hit that dislike button if you've not enjoyed it for whatever reason. Leave your comments down below, and I will see you again tomorrow.